recap to discuss as well on the New Zealand Swiss. So I'll let you take this as well in regards to that question, and also a little recap on the New Zealand Swiss trade that you've taken. So over to you now, Kim Hong.
All right, thank you, Scott. Yep. So yeah, actually I have someone asking a question on how the Germany election, federal election, will actually have an impact on Europe. All right. Yeah, I think like I mentioned in the chat, it will be quite a saddening, or it is a saddening news that Angela Merkel is leaving Germany. Okay, I mean not leaving Germany, but leaving as the Chancellor of Germany. All right. So as we know, Germany has been led by Merkel for the past, I don't know how many years. Okay, she has been like the long-running Chancellor of Germany, and she has built tons of strong foreign relationships with other nations like the US, like the UK, and other big nations as well. Okay, so with her departure, well, people out there are saying that it's going to be tough for the new chancellor to well, the new chancellor, he or she may not have to rebuild the relationship, but it may be hard for that new chancellor to maintain the existing relationship that Merkel has built up with other nations. Okay, and of course, when it comes to politics, when it comes to foreign relations, international relations and such, okay, we know that it actually has an impact on how how countries trade with each other, how the kind of what do you call that, the deals, okay, the deals that they may have with each other, okay, in terms of trade, in terms of maybe other goodwills and things like that. All right. So personally, I feel that in the short run, there is going to be some volatility in euro regarding that. I think as of right now, the election vote has not finalized yet. So yeah, just pay attention to it. But unlikely is going to be, I would say, unlikely is going to be a major change in trend for Europe. Okay, so the crucial event, the major events, okay, the big, the limelight, okay, is still on the ECB, European Central Bank, on when they're going to carry out tapering and what they're going to do once the PPP ends. All right. So with that, let me now jump into my trade idea. So Kiwi francs, RBNZ more hawkish than expected. Okay, so this trade idea was fired out, wow, back in August 25th, way long time ago, like 1 month ago. Okay, so the motivation behind this, okay, so if you guys recall, last month, New Zealand actually went on to a lockdown, okay, because of new COVID cases and things like that, right? So there was a prompt lockdown, like right away. I think when the Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern announced the lockdown, it was with effect immediately, okay? And I think it just happened that the following day, the Reserve Bank of New Zealand was supposed to carry out a monetary policy meeting, all right? And the market was actually expecting a rate hike, okay, a 0.25% rate hike coming from the central bank. However, because of this whole lockdown and things like that, the central bank just decided to postpone the whole interest rate hike, okay? Because it's not very nice to, the country has just went into lockdown again, and then here we are announcing a rate hike, right? Something to celebrate about. So, due to all these sensitive issues, the central bank decided to just postpone it, all right? So, initially in a statement, okay, the central bank highlighted that the decision to hold interest rate unchanged is due to the imposed lockdown, okay? So, the market's impression initially, okay, was that, oh man, okay, so, with the return of lockdowns and, the discovery, the newly reported COVID cases, is the Reserve Bank of New Zealand going to become very dovish again? All right, so that is what, that was what the market was actually pondering on, all right, at that time. Now, I think it was a day or two later. Oh no, I think it was like close to 1 week later, okay. The central bank assistant governor, Christian Hawkesby, okay, he clarified the whole issue. He said that it's actually not because of COVID that we postponed this whole interest rate hike. Okay, it was because of, you know, like what I mentioned earlier, sensitive issues, right? They don't want to you know, celebrate this whole thing by having a rate hike, okay, when the nation has just returned back to newly imposed lockdown, right? So with that, you know, that kind of like clarified the doubt, right? That's sort of like, you know, clear the air of whether the central bank was back to the whole dovish tone. So that actually led to a strengthening of the New Zealand dollar across the board, all right? And what makes it more, I would say, hawkish is that Oxby actually mentioned that during the meeting, okay, the central bank was actually, the committee members, okay, they were actually considering a rate hike of 0.5%, okay, which is actually higher than what the market's expectation of 0.25%, okay? So yeah, as a result, you know, New Zealand dollar just strengthened. So that is the main motivation behind this trade idea, right? So let me just show you the chart. Okay, so let me just put a line down, say here. Okay, so I think it was one day after the, is it one day? 25th, or maybe the same day, the very same day, okay, that the trade idea was fired out. As you guys can see, this red dotted line over here, okay. Let me just zoom out. I think it's not very nice for this. Yeah. Okay, so it was triggered, and true enough, okay, it actually strengthened against francs. You know, like what I mentioned many times, the way I trade francs is on mostly on a risk on, risk off kind of basis. Okay, risk on meaning, you know, when there are actually optimistic views on a country or hawkish remarks made by the central banks, okay, for that specific currency, all right, then I'm looking at a strengthening of that currency against the safe haven currencies like the Swiss francs, okay? So, you know, as we can see that it actually strengthened up, all the way up, okay, until this point over here, all right? So at this point, you know, it seems like it triggered my TP of 200 pips, okay? But I was actually observing this whole scenario very closely that day, all right? I think it was kind of like some 2 pips away from my TP, all right? So at this point, I would just like to take the opportunity to highlight to you guys out there, especially you traders out there, okay? Now, for my case, I have to hold it till it either hits TP or stop loss for journaling purposes, okay? But in your case, okay, if you guys actually took up this trade idea, there are times whereby you don't have to hold your trades until TP or, you know, or maybe even until stop loss, all right? You guys, if you guys feel that, you know, it's close enough or you guys don't have enough time to supervise your trade, you may actually close your trade for, you know, in this case, 198 pips of profit, all right? Or, you know, if you guys think that the whole fundamental direction, okay, the whole fundamental bias for your trade has changed, okay, then you're better off closing your trade, okay, in case it hits stop loss, right? So you can save a few pips of losses, right? So in this case, this trade idea was a very good example of, you know, how you should actually, you know, just close your trade for, you know, for whatever profit it is, you know, when it's actually close to the TP level, all right? So when I actually closed this trade manually, okay, it was at this golden level over here, this golden line level over here. So it was actually due to, I would say, a slight fundamental change, okay? So as you can see over here, RBNZ Assistant Governor commented that central bank is likely going to take a more cautious approach in terms of rate hike next month. Now, this is actually, I think, last week. Yeah, it was last week. So as you can see, there's actually 2, okay, so this chart, this trade idea is based on a daily time frame, right? So as you can see over here, there are 2 bearish candles. So 2 consecutive days of, I don't know, 100 pips of weakening of the New Zealand dollar against the safe haven currency, Swiss francs. So over here, okay, it is clear that the market was actually reacting to Assistant Governor's Hawksby's comment on this, right? Because I think it was recently that they were still trying to, New Zealand was still trying to sort of like, you know, contain the whole spike in cases, okay? So with this whole slightly dovish comment coming out from the governor, okay, assistant governor. He actually mentioned that central banks, the major central banks around the world, okay, they are actually looking at interest rate hikes in denominated in 0.25%. Okay, personally, I feel that they would have known this like ever since they become, they joined the central bank. All right, it's not surprising that major central banks around the world are just increasing or decreasing interest rates by 0.25%. Okay, unless there's a cause, there's a cause of concern. Like last year when there's a pandemic, central banks have to cut interest rate in denomination of 0.5%. Okay, or more, right? So personally, I feel that the way I interpret what this comment is trying to say is that they may actually be looking at a 0.25% hike instead of the previous 0.5. All right, this time around in October. Okay, so that is, I would say more of a dovish comment made by the assistant governor. Okay, so which led to the weakening of the New Zealand dollar. So because of this news, I decided to just close my trade for 100 pips instead. So overall, okay, on hindsight, all right, on hindsight, you can see that I'm better off closing my trade, okay, or for whoever who actually followed my trade idea and followed what I issued out as a manual close, okay, that it's probably better off to just close your trade when it was hovering around this region. Okay, it may not be that 198 pips, profit. All right, it may be somewhere around here. As you can see, this region over here, New Zealand francs is sort of like hesitant in moving higher, right? Over here, we can see that it has been like a strong uptrend, right? It has been a strong uptrend. But when it comes to this region over here, it just hover across. So that may actually be a sign. So one way that you guys can actually determine if you guys should close a trade for whatever profits is that you can actually look at the indicators, right? So with Gene's fast MACD indicator over here, you can see that there's actually a change in momentum. All right, so you can see that MACD has already started, the fast MACD has already crossed over, so leading to I would say not leading to a change in direction of the price, but an indicator of a change in the momentum, right? So with this hovering of prices, you guys can actually just close your trade for whatever profits. All right. So learning point over here from this trade idea, you need not wait for your TP level to be hit, to be triggered, okay, before you end your trade. Okay, you can actually end your trade earlier, but of course you have to be careful not to end your trade when it's just like, I don't know, some 10-20 pips away. Some 10-20 pips into the trade, okay, when your TP is like some 100 or 200 pips, right? So remember that the trade ideas that I fired out are more of a swing to, I wouldn't say position, okay, more of a swing trade ideas, okay? So, trade ideas can be held for like days or even for a couple of weeks. In this case, I think it was held for, I think, one and a half week, okay, 1.5 weeks or so. So so with that, I come to the end of my sharing. You guys just pick up something new today, in terms of this whole trade management. Okay, so just pay attention to major news and things like that. So I will continue to update you guys on any trade ideas that's currently running. Okay.